Scott feels that the art of allowing for divine love is one of the most important things we can learn. Drawing on biblical tradition with a focus on Jesus' teachings, Scott developed the rest that works, a way to feel for and work with God's creative love in the uniqueness of one's life. He leads workshops and provides spiritual directions along those lines. Scott is married to Anita, and they have 3 children, Josh, Ben, and Brianna, for whom he thanks God every day. This title talk is The Heart of Joy. Please welcome Scott.
Thanks, Howie. It's going to be interesting to go this way and this way, so forgive me if I'm looking this way and that way, but it is awesome to be back with you here. Yeah, big time, really. So let's pray. Great and gracious God, as we remember that you are the light, the love, the divine presence behind and within everything, including each one of us, we open to you. Big wheels are turning right now. We can feel it. Help us to do our part, the part you want us to both experience inside, but also reach out and help outside in rolling those wheels in the way you want them to roll. So either in these words or maybe between them or maybe off to their side, help us to understand what you would have understood. In all the holy names for you, we pray. Amen. Well, like you, Howie, well, to be blunt, the way it went was I kind of had some ideas about talking about the heart of joy 3 weeks ago. And then 2 weeks ago, right, George Floyd was murdered. And then, in a way it never, ever should have happened. And then we came to light so many. And just all the things that have been happening. And I struggled when I had that one line in the daily word coming up, joy is my constant companion. And I was really thankful for the 2 paragraphs that follow. Because quite frankly, I've been an emotional mess the last 2 weeks. And I think that's been healthy. But here's the thing, the next 2 paragraphs. I discover reasons to feel joyful every day, even in the midst of the most challenging circumstances. I begin by centering my awareness on the Christ, God with us, God as us, the divine presence within. I feel love and peace lift my heart, and possibilities for good fill my thoughts, and I am joyous. I may experience joy as exuberance, delight, and wonder, but joy may also come quietly as the peaceful assurance of God's presence wherever I am, whatever I'm doing. And my awareness of that joy brings a glow to even the most ordinary day. And I would say the key is to bring that love into these days. I'll tell you, I'm still far from feeling like I have much of a grasp on some big things right now. I do think that's probably healthy, especially as a white male. But I do know that whatever you hear today, it should be about love. So take whatever you hear and make sure you're going to God with it and be cultivating that. But also recognize the work of love isn't easy sometimes. And right now is one of those times. It really is. I was thinking about this Wednesday night and trying to figure out what in the world. I mean, seriously, I had my cup of tea and I'm like, what, God, what do you want me to say on Sunday? I really, because we've been taking a course on racialized trauma, Anita and I, and that's been big, powerful. Realizing there's a lot I didn't even think about before. But then also looking at a lot of good stuff, Richard Rohr, and there's a lot of good stuff out there, and there's a lot of good things people are doing, really good things. Really good things. In fact, I was heartened to see that the protest yesterday in Washington, D.C., it sounds like the spirit, you know what I mean, is they're working it out together. And that's beautiful, the more that gets happening for real. Said the reporter in this one article I read this morning was, seeing a black man fist bumping a black police officer, and then they were talking. And that's the key. It's that next step too, the talking, the connection, right? So anyway, when I was drinking my tea, this is the funny part. I'm going to make sure I read a couple of these things, make sure I get them right. My little teabag message said, "Life is a flow of love. Your participation is requested." Participation. That felt right. It just did. So I made sure to make plans to tune into the funeral service for George Floyd the next day and observe the 8 minutes and 46 seconds of silence. And that was all very powerful. Teabag that night, and I'm not telling you to always use tea bags, but as I was trying to figure out, I started even to write. I was sitting anyway, the tea bag said, "Let things come to you." And I realized, I wasn't ready to write yet. But then I woke up yesterday morning, about 6 a.m, lots of energy, especially in my gut and my heart. And this just came. So with me always, just if it's helpful, take it. If it isn't, skip it. But at least reflect on what this brings up for you. It's just a paragraph, but it just came. In our hearts, we know that everyone deserves heartfelt respect, unconditionally, just because. It's because everyone is an individualized, eternal soul branching out from God as a human being right now. But pain and fear of pain can make us forget that, even about ourselves. It's actually easier to forget than to remember because of our vulnerabilities as humans, both inside and out. That's why we need laws, and the enforcement of laws through the measured use of force when needed to protect the innocent and maintain a space for everyone that's safe, until each and every person remembers and consistently lives from the heart of who and what we are again. But it's important to remember that it's the forgetting that gives rise to most of the problems. The getting lost in pain and the fear of pain that can create a cycle of pain until we remember and reconnect with love again for ourselves and for others, and sincerely choose to live by it from our hearts, because we want to. Because that's what starts happening when you're really feeling the love. You want to. This is why soul-level connections matter so much, inside and out. We don't need any laws when we're actually living from the deepest soul space. But we all need them when we aren't. After writing that, I was just sitting there, and I was even just sort of catching up with what had just happened. And I was like, all right, Lord, if you want me to say that, you got to give me a sign, because it kind of goes into a lot of territory there. It really actually does. And I opened my emails, checking to see on someone, because I had, anyway, sent an email the night before. I was a little worried about what the person might have heard. It all worked out good. But the first email that was there was from Ann Albers, and I started reading it. She's a person, I invite you to look her up if you're open to this. She speaks with angels and does angel messages, and every once in a while she calls it a message from the presence. Her word for God would be the presence. And she said, this week the presence came through me with a loving force. As you read these words, I pray you feel the sweet, soothing balm of the unconditional love that sources us and breathes life into us all. And here's what it said. This is just after I had written that paragraph. Dear embodiments of my love, patiently I wait for all of you to open your hearts. I am working through you to the degree you will allow me to restore a greater harmony and a more peaceful dance of coexistence and a loving interchange between you and all of creation. Within my being, I have allowed you the free will to choose how you will live your lives, what you will create, and whether or not you will allow or refuse my love to inspire and move you. You live within me, and I live within you. To the degree you allow yourselves to feel my love, for any love is my love, you feel me, your source, your guiding light, and the essence of your very being. None of you live outside of me. None of you are evil, for you are sourced only and all from my love. But some of you have forgotten love. Some of you have forgotten me. Some of you don't believe I even exist, though I am the very breath that keeps you alive. In the forgetting, you feel separate from love and separate from one another. You feel scared, angry, isolated, and powerless. It is here that humanity falls into hatred, prejudice, and injustice. Hatred says to another, you threaten me. You make me face my own fears. You make me feel my own darkness. You make me face my illusions. You make me feel powerless. When connected to my love, though, you are anything but powerless. There's quite a bit more, and certainly I invite you to look up Ann Albers if you'd like to. But also, it's up to you. It's whatever helps you get in sync with this different kind of power from when we get to that love. Because it really does, we don't want to play games anymore. We don't want to try to hide behind anything, trying to justify ourselves. We want to make it right if we've done something wrong, or if the position we're in is causing someone else pain. We want to make it right because we want to be in that loving relationship. When we're feeling the love, if something's wrong, we really want to make it right. Think about someone you really love and you're really close to them. If they say to you they're hurting, first thing you want to do is, oh my goodness, what's wrong? Why? Have I done something? And if so, you want to make that right. You want to. Because we want to be in that joy of loving. Because you want it to be real. Because then it feels so much better for everybody. And it took me back to, getting, and then you have faith in that that's worthwhile. It's worthwhile approaching it that way no matter what, because of the movement of loving energy from within that does bring a joy. It's a peace that passes understanding is what it is. And it made me think of something I heard of President Obama talking about this week in a town hall meeting. It was a town hall meeting about resilience, and it was about, how do you keep going when it's really hard? And what he shared was very powerful. He said, Let me just tell you about what happened with the church shootings. And I'm going to read a little bit of this just because I want to get it right. But it was the Charleston church shooting in 2015 when Pastor Clem Pickney and 9 others were murdered at a Bible study by 21-year-old white supremacist Dylan Roof. And President Obama called the families as soon as he heard about it. And, just talk with them. But then a day or two later, the families called and talked to his secretary and asked if he would come to the eulogy. And he said, tell them I want to come and I will. I want to hug every family member that will let me. But I don't think I can speak. And he said in that moment, and for the next day or so, or the next however long, he said, I had spoken on racism and gun violence, and here they two came together, and I had spoken so many times, and it just seemed like it didn't make any difference, and I really didn't know what to say. And he said, I knew I shouldn't probably say anything, the space I was in. But then the next day, at the court hearing for the young man, he heard how, and I'm going to try to make sure this is right, but he heard how the family members came to the court, so fully affirming the process of justice needs to be followed. But there at the court, they told Dylan they forgave him and were praying for him. And Obama just said, seeing that, I said, if they can do it, I can do it. And it's all of it together. It's all of it together. So he called him and said, if you want me still, I'll do the eulogy. And he spoke on this whole process. It's the combination of what, and he talked about, it's remembering Martin Luther King Jr. But then currently at that time, John Lewis and others have been through so much for so long, calling for the justice that supports a society where there can be peace, because those two belong together. But also the grace that frees us from hatred, frees us from, you know what I mean? A spirit we don't want in us. So it's all of it. And he gave a wonderful eulogy about, how the role faith plays in his life. And it's all of it. And it's worth it. He talked in there about, John Lewis, 50 years he'd been doing this. Still worth it. You keep going. Because of the love that as we get in touch with it, and we're aware that, and this was the other thing he said, I realized, oh, geez, I was kind of thinking I was alone in this. I'm not alone in this. God's in this. Other people are in this. Those families, they're in this. If they can do it, I can do it. And it's worth doing. Period. Just period. And had the spirit of Micah 6:8. God has shown you, O mortal, what is good. What does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. Period. Just do your best to do that. For real. No games. So it made me think of Reverend Al Sharpton, and I'll finish with this, and then we'll get ready for meditation. I think he did a good job with the eulogy. We don't need to debate that, but one of the things he shared was that when he was at the airport, he found himself standing in about the same place he'd been 40 or maybe 45, 50 years ago. So think about that, a long time ago. And he hadn't, really thought about this in a long time, but he said probably being at that airport after I hadn't flown for months because of COVID, right? It kind of took me to, he said, so anyway, I realized I'm standing about the same place I was like 50 years ago when that lady, a white lady, had poked him from behind and told him he shouldn't be where he was, basically saying he shouldn't be in line next to her. And at that moment, this last week, he felt a poke from behind and he thought, now what? He turned around and about a 10 or 11-year-old girl, white girl, went like this and said, no justice, no peace. And he smiled and said, you preach it, sister. And he just said that was so encouraging to him. And I hope it was. That, to really get it. For real. And I know I got a lot more listening to do. But then participate. It was really good to be in the march and the rally on Friday night. I was proud of Eau Claire. And it's like, all right, we got to follow through here too, But then also keep doing the listening, I was proud of Justin Vernon. He stood up and said, he's the guy who organized. He said, I shouldn't be talking. Let's all listen. That was good. That was good. So, as you reflect on this, and what that looks like for you, really participating. So you go into the love, and I'm going to read from Ann Albers, the meditation she sets up then, really inviting from the presence. So it's powerful. But going to the love, but then how do I participate? I just invite you to kind of be open to that spirit, as I'll read it, to lead us into meditation, and then I'll be quiet, and then I'll close. Maybe take a couple deep breaths, settle in. And hear this from the divine presence within each of us and everyone. When you feel helpless in the face of the world's ills, pray to receive my inspiration. I will guide you. When your heart cries in sadness as you feel the world's pain, ask me to wrap my love around you and rise up from within you. When you feel irritable, intolerant, or upset, pray for me to remove your inner conflict and restore you to your essence. Justice is a natural outcome of feeling my love. Equality is a natural outcome of feeling my love. Educate and therefore elevate one another by sharing your hearts, your pain, your hopes, your fears, your dreams, but above all, your love. Ask for my peace, my grace, my inspiration, and my loving harmony to fill your hearts and the hearts of all. Love is the force that creates universes. Love is also the force that transforms lives and transforms them to lead to systems transformed. Your actions, when inspired, motivated, and guided by love, will create new worlds, new systems, and a more loving and kind dance of humanity upon your earth as well. I love you. I am you. We are one. Divine Presence, thank you for reminding us that you are with us and that we can fully participate with you. We don't have to have it all figured out, but you do call us to bring our heart to it in the best love we can. And as we do that, we can trust you to work it all according to your plan, to how you want to do it, in all the complexity we probably may never understand, at least on this side of the veil. In all the holy names for you, we pray. Amen.